Welcome to Love Always Self, a podcast about connection to self, reflections of self, and how this impacts our reality.
We're all about trying to find balance, discovering tools for spiritual wellness, and creating a safe place to have loving conversations about a broad range of topics.
I'm Karista, a spiritualist with a background in nursing, health coaching, and personal training. I believe in a holistic mindset where everyone and everything can work together in harmony by giving love and attention to the body, mind, and spirit so that we can create a more balanced life. I want to help guide you in your personal journey to create a life filled with joy, magic, and love.
And I'm Shira, an explorer of personal truth with a background in program management, finance, and more recently a spiritual intuitive, learning to connect with spiritual guides whom I like to call Mount Glass. I have an always growing passion to not only guide myself, but to also guide others in opening to and creating stronger connections with our highest self, allowing us to see and feel life in a whole new loving light.
We believe that we are all connected, and by learning to love self, we will elevate the collective consciousness and learn to create deeper connections with each other, self, and source. As we grow and learn through our own life adventures and self-discoveries, we hope you gain insights into your own truth.
Don't forget to subscribe to stay notified of new content. We would love to hear from you. So if you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please email us at contact@lovealwaysself.com. Or you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at lovealwaysself, and this will be linked in the show notes. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today, Shy Bear?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just ready to go get our brunch on. Haven't done a ladies' brunch in over a year.
Super exciting. Yes, it's been so long. It's been over a year since we've actually gone out to breakfast and shared some mimosas with with our girlfriends. So yeah, super excited about that today.
Me too.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the eggs Benedict. I was like, oh my gosh, eggs Benedict, not in a to-go box. What?
Yes, some fresh hollandaise sauce. Amen.
I'm so hungry.
Yeah. We get to talk to, our friends and like be in their presence and, just get to enjoy each other's community, our friendship and just being joyful around each other. So super excited about that, getting to talk, where we're not just on a Zoom call or on the phone, it's actually in person, which kind of feels completely different.
I know. And for those of you listening, Carrie and I have been doing this podcast, and all the recordings that you'll be hearing so far are all from Zoom. So technology at its finest. We've had to play around quite a bit.
I don't know about it at its finest, but
yeah,
we're definitely on an extreme learning curve.
Oh my goodness. I think this is like my second microphone and I'm still not that satisfied with it. Technology lately has just been, oh my gosh, so finicky. So like when we were going through and like creating this podcast and figuring out how to do everything,
how to launch it,
right? Like we've learned all this on like Google and YouTube and friends giving advice or
make a
trial
podcast. They said it's easy. They said,
dude, seriously, and oh my goodness, and of course, just figuring out like what is going to be our hosting platform. Who uses what listening mechanism the most or application the most, right?
And how do we connect the hosting site to all these different listening apps and websites and stuff like that?
And can I tell the story just really fast about one? I'm not going to mention the actual like which podcast platform, but one of them gave me so much trouble that I found myself completely just disconnecting from everything I've ever taught myself on how to like center and calm down, right? And just went what a friend of ours likes to call keyboard angry. And like was just, oh my gosh, with this technology, right? And that leads us kind of into our topic for today. right?
Yeah, so we decided to launch the first week of this. I don't know if it's the first one, but of this cycle of Mercury going into retrograde. And so we kind of wanted to take a minute to chat about what that means. I say that all the time in passing with, people at the gas station, like, oh, Mercury's in retrograde when the credit card machine isn't working. And they give me this look like, okay, okay, crazy. Oh, yeah. And so just kind of wanted to like review what that means when we say those kinds of things. So, Mercury in retrograde is an astrology term, and we're not big astrology buffs, but we do have some sense of understanding, with small aspects of this. So, Mercury is the planet that rules communication and different forms of communication. So, whether that's just verbal communication or communicating via electronics. So, it also impacts our electrical system and communication devices and the satellites and everything like that. And so, when the planet itself starts to appear like it is moving backwards, because it's not actually moving backwards, it's just from our point of view, we start to have issues with these communication devices and our own communication. A lot of people experience this like stumbling over words, forgetting words, mixing words up, having tense conversations over things that shouldn't be tense. And a lot of times we forget to include the aspect of listening in our communication, how this Mercury in retrograde affects that aspect of it. So a lot of times, we tend to speed up in our communication. We skip over the step of shutting up and opening our ears. And so just wanted to talk about maybe some examples of this and how we can adjust our communication to not only support our mental health and well-being, but the people around us.
So I'm less familiar with astrology than Carrie is. So I had to Google Mercury. It's not like I haven't actually heard of Mercury retrograde. I even say that terminology sometimes. I actually said it on a conference call at work just like a few days ago. And I was just like, oh my, like nothing on our WebEx was working. And I couldn't get off mute. And so I'm sitting there waving at the screen, like, give me just a second. I can't get off mute. And, and then as soon as I was able to unmute, I was like, wow, Mercury retrograde, right? And everyone on the call actually understood that and was like, yeah, no kidding.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and I found that interesting because, I don't think I actually heard the terminology of it until I started going down this like spiritual quote unquote awakening journey, right? I made it all the way to 40 and having never heard that until the last 2 years. So, I mean, you know, but I will say that every time now that I'm aware of it, now that I know when it's happening, every time that is happening, sometimes I'll catch myself when I'm talking. Like even today, I'm stumbling on my words a little bit more than I normally would. I don't feel like I'm as like precise in the direction that I'm trying to like actually head the conversation into, right? And sometimes I'll actually be in the midst of like, man, what was that word? Right? Like where you're just trying to remember what word you're trying to utilize. Like it's on the
Hmm.
tip of your tongue, but you can't freaking say it.
Hmm.
And so I'll just be like, oh my God, what was that freaking word? And I'm like, oh, Mercury retrograde.
So I actually use a very informative app to guide me in, what is going on in the astrological realm, and then also learn a lot of things because it goes through the terminology and what the different aspects mean, what the different planets and houses are. And that's called Time Passages. So the app that I use is Time Passages, and it's very informative, and it goes through again, the planetary aspects and what they rule, or I don't want to say like control over, but
Well, that's pretty cool. I haven't heard
yeah,
of that app.
it's really great. And I have an Android phone, but I think it's available to both Android and Apple users. So one of the things that I really wanted to make sure to bring up in this talk about communication and, the fact that during these time frames it's helpful to be mindful is that mindfulness on how we speak to others is very important throughout all times of life. And, I've had a conversation recently with somebody that I care about a lot. And it was a very intense conversation, like those back and forth, just building on stress. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. No, that's not what I was asking about. Like, just it was a yes or no question. Why are you, mansplaining to the end of the earth about something completely different that I was not asking about? And so that conversation after we cool down a little bit and I'm like, okay, is there a way that we can communicate better? And the cop out statement, in my opinion, is, well, this is just how I talk.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so that is relinquishing and throwing away any responsibility that you have to be mindful in your thought process, how you're listening and how you're responding. Let's be real, you're not responding, you're reacting when you're in that mindset. And that can cause a lot of hurt and can cause a lot of tension and make it really hard to have a, quality relationship, a strong one, if you're not working together to create better communication techniques.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think like with Steven and I, and I feel like this is pretty much the thing for most relationships. I mean, I don't know if I've ever met a couple that didn't have, some kind of a concern on how to communicate better at some
Mhm,
point in time in their relationship, right?
mhm,
One of the things that I started doing recently, instead of having a very strong reaction, which that's tempting, right? Like I
mhm.
get tempted when somebody says something kind of, shitty,
Well, and
or
it's
it
not
comes across,
even,
it's
I
perceived
wouldn't even
shitty.
call it tempting. Like that's just the pattern that we've developed. It just,
Yeah.
that's a learned behavior. That
Yeah.
is a reaction. So you react those patterns.
Oh no, 100%. And so one of the things that I have recently tried to do is ask the question back, in the sense of like, if someone says something to me that, I'm immediately feeling like an emotional reaction to, I'll respond in a way like, "Hey, babe, how else do you think you could have said that
Mhm,
to help me not react like
mhm,
this?"
mhm.
Because I'm getting kind of like a bit of a reaction towards how you just said that to me. They're like, "Oh," because sometimes they're not even aware of it, right? Sometimes
Absolutely.
the person
Yeah.
talking isn't aware that they're saying something that's even remotely offensive to you
Right. It's
or could
their
cause you.
pattern. That's
Right,
how they've learned to be.
right. So that's been that's actually been working out really well.
I
Keeping
think the
my
struggle
relationship in
I think the struggle is when you're not willing to learn new patterns or create better forms of, speaking, thinking, action.
yeah.
So when you say, "Well, that's just how I am," well, that's pretty inflexible, and that doesn't leave any room for growth and learning how to be in a happier state of mind more consistently, which
Yeah.
is better for body, mind, and soul.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I would definitely say that this method took some getting used to,
Hmm, hmm,
right? Um, it was a conversation that had to happen, in the sense of like, "Hey, I think what I would like to do going forward is," so that's communicating how I would like to try and address my emotional reactions to statements being said to me, and how you could help me with that by bettering your communication style,
hmm.
to where, I wouldn't feel like I would necessarily need to have that kind of a reaction.
Yeah.
So,
And right there, that's putting a lot of responsibility on the other person. So we also need to remember that, reflecting on what state we're in. So taking our responsibility too, because it's a two-way street. It goes both ways. You're both responsible for your thought processes, for your words that you choose, and for how you speak them. And so really asking yourself in those moments, am I listening from a place of love, or am I listening from a place of fear and lacking? And so it takes both people to be on board to really create these better communication styles. Now, one can do it without the other, but then it's harder to grow together and grow closer. So really considering, a, where are you coming from? Where is your heart center at? Where are you in a state of peace and, love and acceptance? Or are you in this state of fear? And then, looking at the other person and exactly like you said, communicating, hey, I need this from you. And in this moment, when I am experiencing heightened emotion, I am going to say X, Y, and Z. And that will be an indicator for you and I that we need to reframe, maybe pause, take a step back, maybe a little breather, reframe and come back together in a, more clear-headed, positive state of mind. And when we communicate that plan, we're creating a safe space, a place of love and understanding where you work together as a team.
Right. And it's important to also come to terms with the fact that, when you're deciding to go through that, experiment with your partner in learning how to communicate with each other, it's important to also come to terms with the fact that, do you want to? Like,
Sorry. I've
like,
got Nova in here and she's making little whining noises.
aw, Nova, communicate better, baby.
Yeah. Use your words.
Use your words. Oh my goodness, that was
That was Ryder.
oh, okay.
They're talking
Ryder,
to each other through the
Ryder,
door.
Ryder's like, I know how to use my words. Hold up. Yeah, and Mercury retrograde does tend to bring up issues from the past, from my understanding. So, and you're if you're holding on to your past, then that can also harm your present, right? So it's a Mercury retrograde is a good time to kind of look within.
Mhm.
This is what I've read about it. So, and this is just something I've started practicing myself, right? So it's a good time to do self-reflection,
Mhm.
and start healing some of those like past traumas.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. And even taking that as an opportunity to reframe your thoughts around those old traumas or events, and taking that opportunity to maybe have a different perspective to be able to heal a little bit of that pain related to whatever the event was.
Right.
So, how do we go through this process to improve our communications? Because this isn't just for our partner, this is for ourselves. Because, thought is related to words, and our communication starts with our thoughts. And so, how do we, address the thoughts that we are creating? Yes, like those little thoughts. Little Nova thoughts. "Mommy, let me out."
No.
It is her breakfast time,
She's like, feed me.
yeah, how do we move forward into our growth and changing, improving, creating better space for communication? Because the words that we think still impact our vibration, our frequency, our health, our physical and mental well being, even if they're not spoken. So it's not just stopping before we speak the words, it's also adjusting our thought processes. So a lot of times, at least this is what I've gone through in improving my form of communication. Now, I'm not perfect by any means. Disclaimer, I am still learning. I will constantly be learning. But first off, we tend to recognize after the fact, right? We start off having the disagreement or the stressful communication. And then after we've stepped away from that communication, we start to review, right? And many times, myself included, I review in a way that is, well, I should have said this. And if I had this come back, da da da, and I sit there and I have a whole different conversation that's still tense in my head. Well, I could have said this better and he should have said it this way, and or, whatever. So rather than getting stuck in that mindset of defensiveness, negative aspects, I could have said this better to be more sharp or in my comeback, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Taking a moment to switch that and review, okay, how could I have responded better? Right? Because there's a difference between responding versus reacting. I already said reacting is the reaction of a reoccurring pattern.
Right.
So we are just snapping back in a pattern that we've already created. So we need to adjust that pattern. So that pattern, in adjusting it, we are learning how to respond, taking in the information, evaluating our feeling about it, maybe watching our feelings, and giving back the communication from a place of love. So
So
that's
basically taking a step back and collecting your
Mhm.
words and your thoughts before.
Well, yes, eventually that is the goal, right?
Right.
But the first step is when we are reviewing a conversation in our head or together, really reflecting on, okay, how could I have responded versus reacting? Where was I listening from a place of? Was that from a place of love that I was listening to and understanding and acceptance? Or is that from a place of fear and lacking and needing to save yourself? Who are you having these conversations with, first of all?
Right. Are you having it with the person you're talking to, or are you having it with yourself?
Well,
Right.
do you feel like that person loves you? Why are you not listening from a place of love?
Right.
So, how could I have responded differently? How could I have, you know, viewed from their perspective what they meant? So I take the moment to think about, and I'm going to use John, my husband, as an example. Like we have to take a step back, and I have to have quiet time to reflect. And in that moment of stress, right? I know I'm stressed the fuck out. Sure. Well, you know what? So is he.
Right.
He's overloaded with stuff on his plate also, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but just trying to understand the place that he was in also. Okay, so how can we come back together? Because I love this man to the ends of the earth, and I know he loves me and would do anything for me. So why are we listening from a place of fear and responding and reacting from a place of fear and lacking? Sorry, Nova's still chatty.
No, it's okay.
So then, yeah, we start with that. Reviewing the information after the fact, right? We review and we say, okay, I could have done this differently. I could have said things differently this way. I could have been from a place of love when I was listening. And so then we start to integrate those ideas for growth, for adjustment on how we're communicating. And then the hope is that in the next step, we actually recognize it in the moment, right? We're reacting and we're like, oh, I'm being real shitty right now. I'm listening and reacting from a place of fear. I say, okay, hold up. John, I recognize that I'm really stressed out by this information and I'm not responding to you in a way that I would like to. And I'm not responding from a place of love. I am saying some things that I don't really mean and I'm being harsh. I need a moment to calm down and then can we recenter? And I will try to, listen from a place of love. And, if you could do the same, I would greatly appreciate that. And so in the moment, we stop it. And again, we've got to do this with somebody that we're comfortable with, right? We've got to
Yeah.
start practicing this with people that we're comfortable with. You and I do this. We do this
Right.
with our spouses because we know that love, it's limitless, right? So we can have these good periods of practice to reframe and redirect and create new patterns. So we acknowledge in the moment, we take responsibility for ourselves where we're at and our state of mind, and then we ask for redirection. Can we reframe this? Can we come back to a place of love? And again, it takes us like 5 minutes. We gotta step back. We gotta go to our corners.
Go to your corner.
Yeah.
I mean, I love you. Go to your corner.
Go to your corner. I love you. So then, eventually, after practicing pausing it in the moment, we're going to start catching ourselves before we're reacting, before we're
Right.
making the statements that are causing tension. And then we start to recognize where our thoughts are coming from before they turn into speech. So in the moment of thought, we start to recognize, all right, my thoughts are going to this place of negativity. So I'm recognizing I'm listening not in a place of love. And so we can start making those small adjustments as a precursor to the words we speak. And, finally, hopefully, we are able to sit in that space of watching, of viewing these emotions without becoming entangled in them and expressing those emotions so fully. Not to say emotion is bad, but sometimes it can get heightened and get a little out of control. And we cause harm in ways that we don't want to, and so we want to eventually get to this place where we are sitting in this space of love constantly, right? We're elevating our
Absolutely.
consciousness. We're elevating our frequency. We want other people to start to synchronize with our frequency rather than allowing ourselves to be brought down and synchronize with lower vibrations. So, really, it's that practice of listening and responding from a place of love and peace and understanding and acceptance. Doesn't mean you have to agree with everything. We just
Oh, yeah.
accept that that's what that person is experiencing right now in this moment.
Yeah. And I think that for you to understand yourself better in how you can go about doing these types of things, it's important that during times of, I mean, in general, it's important to do this, but especially in times of Mercury retrograde, to take time for yourself,
Mhm,
to give yourself that time to do those self reflections and take those pauses and those breaks to
mhm.
really understand how can I respond better in times like this.
Yeah, because
Grounding
those
work is good.
reactions, again, it's impacting our body at a cellular level.
Oh
Those
yeah.
stress responses, those fight or flight responses, it creates more inflammation, which creates more dis-ease in our body, which creates disease.
It's ease.
Yeah, yeah. So when we can start to adjust our train of thought, our place of listening, our place of being, then we can create a more safe environment, a more healthy environment, a more loving environment. Because those words in your head, they are impacting your body, even if they're not spoken.
Oh, solid example. Solid example. When having said issue with said podcast platform and getting all keyboard angry, right? Hands down, I got so frustrated that in my head, it was like, it's never gonna work. This thing's just broken. Everything's broken, and I walked away and I went downstairs for a little while and I was just like, what the F? And,
Weren't you
you
having
know,
physical pain from that too?
yeah, like my stomach was all cramping up and,
Mhm.
yay, stress, type reaction. And then I just kind of it kind of just like popped out of my mind, right? Like I was like, I'm walking away, I'm walking away. And I like literally just went downstairs, did my business downstairs, came back up, probably like 15 minutes later. And I kid you not, everything was just working perfectly fine. It was almost like as soon as I just released this authority over a horrible moment, as soon as I let that go, it just started working for me. And I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. Still not
So we're,
entirely 100% sure
yeah.
how that worked, but hey, I will take it.
So what are you creating in your existence that is creating resistance? Ooh,
Ooh, that's a good one.
I liked it.
Write that one down.
So, in these moments of Mercury in retrograde, practice listening, right? It's not just about the speech going outward, it's about receiving too. So, how can we improve our communication? By improving how we receive information and slow down if you're able to. I understand that's not always feasible, but slow down. Take a breath. This too shall pass. And then mindfulness, right? Practicing mindfulness through our thoughts and through our speech, learning how to respond versus reacting. Create a new pattern, a pattern that's, from a foundation of love and acceptance and peace. And this is how we shall be when we create those patterns.
And also another really, really good tip is to do some self-care, right? Go take a walk, sit outside if you can. And if you can't sit outside, go to a window. Hopefully you have windows. Like
Go hug a tree.
go hug a
I
tree. Who
swear
cares
by
what your
it.
neighbors think about that,
Hashtag tree
right?
huggers. Yeah.
Right? Do some grounding. Someone, I think, I almost want to say that this was a tip from Ambrosia, but she's with Innerbloom. If you don't have the space to ground outside, go get a pot from Home Depot. They're just like,
A
like a little
potted
small,
plant.
right, a potted plant. Put some soil in it, have it around in your home, put your hands in there, get them dirty. Who cares? You can wash it off. That's what soap and water's for. And just visualize yourself grounding.
Mhm.
I really love that trick, especially here in Texas. It's been raining like nonstop.
Mhm.
And if you have no fear towards the rain, then go out and play in the rain, you know?
Yeah.
And
It's lightning.
I mean,
There's been a lot of lightning.
let's not do that, right? Like,
Don't hug the tree in lightning
please don't
storms.
hug a tree in lightning. We're highly not recommending that. So, but yeah, no, I mean, just do something that allows you to look within and move that energy.
I've got to share one with you also. Yesterday, I did this in the shower, right?
Mm.
We have been digging a trench in our backyard, and I'm very sore. My body's very sore. And I realized how stiff I was. And 50 Cent came on.
Nice.
And I was literally shaking my ass in the shower, just trying to get those hips moving, just trying to release that energy. Let Tell me that doesn't put you in a space of love and joy and
Visualization
happiness.
alone puts me in a space of love and happiness. Okay. Like,
Well, just hugging the tree. Well, if your neighbor drives by, who cares what they think? You're probably giving them a smile, making them chuckle, and you know what? You're raising their vibration.
and honestly, if you go out and you hug a tree and somebody drives by and they want to be judgy, that's on them. That's not you. That's them.
That's
They need
about
to work
them.
that
That's
out.
their discomfort. Yeah. Oh, that means they probably need to hug a tree.
They need
They
to
have
hug a
not
tree
connected
too.
in a while.
Go get it. Go get that tree.
Oh. So, just to recap, Mercury's in retrograde for maybe another week or two. A lot about communications, it impacts different forms of communications or devices and everything, and can impact our ability to listen and respond and make things a lot more heightened. So, remember to, stick your ground in your place of love. And let us know if you have any examples or tips or tricks that have helped you in reframing and creating new, more loving patterns. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Share your stories with us. We love to hear them. It helps us with our own creativity as well. So feel free to shoot us over a message or comment down below, however you'd like to share that.
Communicate, yo.
Communicate.
We love you so much. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and we look forward to sharing our next episode with you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Lovely infinite beings, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment and being open to receiving light and love. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we really look forward to our next connection.
And as a reminder, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Love Always Self, which will be linked in the show notes. We would love to hear from y'all. So if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, please email us at contact@lovealwaysself.com or send us a private message on our social media.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shira.
And until next time, love always self.
Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you take upon the information on this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from information discussed in this podcast.